It has been raining for 13 days. Not the light rain that coastal regions sometimes receive. Not the brief, violent storms that pass in an hour and leave the red rock steaming. This is something else, something that has no name yet because nothing alive today has ever needed a name for it. A rain that does not stop. A rain that falls as if the sky has forgotten the arrangement it had with the land for the last 40 million years and has decided, without warning or explanation, to renegotiate everything. 234 million years ago, the supercontinent of Pangea stretches from pole to pole, a single landmass so vast that its interior has been desert for longer than any living thing can remember. The red rock formations that cover this interior are the record of that dryness, layer upon layer of oxidized sediment deposited by wind rather than water, by the slow, patient accumulation of dust in a landscape that rain almost never reached. That landscape is ending. The rain is warm. When it hits the red rock, it does not soak in. The soil, compacted by 40 million years of drought, has forgotten how to absorb water. It runs instead, across the flat rock, into cracks, building into sheets that move across the plain, with a speed that nothing in this landscape has any instinct to avoid, because nothing in this landscape has ever encountered it before. The smell is extraordinary. Petrichor, the smell of rain on dry earth, is produced when water hits dry soil and releases geosmin, a compound created by soil bacteria that have been waiting dormant in this red dust for millions of years. Nothing alive today has smelled this before, but every animal on this plain has stopped what it was doing. They are all standing still. The rain hits their backs and runs down their flanks and drips from their snouts into the growing puddles at their feet. It drums on the red rock with a sound that has never existed in this landscape. A constant low percussion that fills every silence, that vibrates in the chest. That has become in 13 days the new baseline frequency of a world that has forgotten what quiet sounds like. The rain keeps falling. 3 kilometers to the east, a Dicinodon stands in water that reaches its belly and does not move. 2 meters long, heavy-bodied, built for the dry heat. The tough, fibrous vegetation of drought-adapted cycads. The predictable rhythms of a landscape that had been running the same program for millions of years. Its broad beak is submerged. It is not eating. The plants it ate do not grow in water. The rain falls on the Dicinodon's back and does not stop. It falls on the new river forming around the animal, dimpling the surface in 10,000 simultaneous impacts, turning the water into a constant agitation of rings expanding and collapsing. It falls on the dying cycads at the water's edge, their waxy drought-adapted leaves beating water in the way they were designed to do, designed to shed occasional rain, not 13 days of it. Their roots are saturated. They are beginning to rot. The Dicinodon survived 4 previous extinction events. It survived the Great Dying itself, the worst catastrophe in the history of complex life, by being resilient enough to endure. What it cannot survive is too much water and the wrong plants. Not because it is weak, because it was too perfectly built for a world that is being disassembled around it in real time, washed away millimeter by rain that will not stop. 20 meters away, on the last elevated outcrop above the water, a Rhynchosaura watches the rainfall. The rain runs down its hooked beak and pools at its feet. It looks like an iguana scaled to the size of a large dog, built for digging up dry-adapted plants that are now dying in the waterlogged soil, being replaced by ferns and horsetails its digestive system cannot process. There are fewer Rhynchosaura this season than last. There were fewer last season than the season before. The rain does not care. In a crack in the canyon wall, a slot elevated 20 meters above the rising plain, narrow enough that the rain reaches it only as mist and spray. A nest, 8 eggs. The female who laid them has been gone for 2 days, driven further into the canyon by the flooding. The eggs do not need her. The humidity the rain is driving up the canyon walls is keeping them at exactly the temperature and moisture the embryos inside require. The rain that is killing the Dicinodon is incubating the next generation of everything that comes after. The eggs were laid into a dry world. They will hatch into a different one. Inside the darkness of shell and fluid, 8 animals that do not yet exist are in the final stage of becoming. The features they carry, upright posture, efficient lungs, fast metabolism, generalist diet, were not advantages in the world that existed when their mother laid them. The large, specialized animals owned that world. That world is being washed away. One of the eggs is moving. The rain intensifies at midday. The pulse that arrives is the strongest yet. The sky goes from gray-white to absolute darkness. Lightning comes first. Not individual strikes, but a continuous flickering that turns the canyon into a strobe. The red rock walls appearing and disappearing in white light faster than any eye can track. The rain and the lightning flashes looks solid, not drops. A silver curtain falling at an angle, driven by wind that bends the new fern growth horizontal, that flattens every puddle simultaneously. The thunder overlaps itself. The echo of the last strike still moves across the canyon walls when the next one arrives. Then, three at once. The sound stacks into a continuous vibration that travels through rock and soil, and the fluid in every inner ear on the plain. The Dicinodon feels it in its heavy skull. The rain on its back is now falling so hard it physically drives its head down with each pulse. The Postosuchus, 6 meters long, half a ton, the apex predator of every continent for 30 million years, stands at the edge of the floodplain and does not move. Its osteoderms, the bony armor plates built for the dry Triassic, channel the rain in small streams down its flanks. Its feet sink 3 centimeters into the mud with each step. The mud grips. The legs built for hard, dry surface generate twice the energy for half the distance. The Postosuchus cannot hunt in mud. A Herosaurus passes 40 meters to its left, 4 meters long. Legs positioned directly beneath the body. Vertical, driving downward rather than fighting the mud for lateral purchase. The rain falls on the Herosaurus too. But where the Postosuchus stands still in it, the Herosaurus moves through it as if the mud is simply the new surface of the world. The Postosuchus watches it disappear into the new vegetation. Wrong terrain, wrong world. The rain keeps falling. The hatchling emerges in the afternoon when the storm eases to the pulse between systems. No larger than a human hand, it takes its first breath of Carnian air, warm, saturated, tasting of iron and geosmin and the chemistry of 40 million years of dry sediment finally in contact with water, and opens its eyes. The first thing it sees is water. The canyon walls are dark and streaming, each surface channeling rain into waterfalls that fall 30 meters to the floor. The ferns growing at the canyon base 3 days ago are bending under the weight of the rain. The sky above the canyon opening is the color of old bruises, purple-gray with the next system building to the west. Lightning already flickering at the horizon. The Eoraptor hatchling has been alive for 4 minutes. It has never seen a dry world. It will never see one. It tilts its head at the running water on the rock below the nest. Not afraid, not confused, simply registering. This is what the world is. Water on red rock, wet air, the constant sound of rain on stone. This is the world. It is the only world it will ever know. And it is a world made for exactly what it is. Morning comes without sun, a diffuse brightening of the gray-white ceiling. Not sunrise, a gradual increase in light filtering through 50 kilometers of cloud and water vapor. The rain has eased from last night's violence to the steady, moderate fall that has become, in 13 days, the baseline of this world. Not dry, just less wet. The rain falls on the transformed plain, where red rock and sparse cycad scrub existed 3 weeks ago. There is now standing water in every depression, mud in every flat area, and at the margins, the first dense growth of ferns and horsetails pushing up through the saturated soil, with the urgency of plants whose seeds have been waiting millions of years for exactly this amount of water. The rain falls on the Plateausauro moving through the new vegetation, 5 meters long, stripping fern fronds in the rain, mud pulling at each footstep, rain dripping from its jaw with every bite. Its body is doing something the dry Triassic never triggered. The food is extraordinary. The reproductive system is responding to conditions it was built for and has never experienced. The rain falls on the Eoraptor hatchling, 18 hours old, moving through the wet world at the canyon base with the ease of an animal whose nervous system was never calibrated for dry surfaces. It finds an earthworm displaced by the flooding, eats it in the rain, finds a beetle stunned by cold floodwater, a small amphibian disoriented in a current that appeared yesterday where dry rock was the day before. 18 hours old. 4 meals. In the old dry world, a small generalist predator would have struggled to find this much food in a week. The niches were filled. The specialists owned everything. There was no room for a 1-meter bipedal opportunist in an ecosystem optimized for size and drought. The rain changed the conditions. The specialists are dying. The generalists are eating earthworms in the mud, and it is the beginning of everything. The rain does not stop. Not today, not this month, not this year. The volcanic forces that triggered the Carnian Pluvial episode will continue for 2 million years. 2 million years. The Eoraptor hatchling that ate its first earthworm this morning will die of old age in a world that still looks like this. Wet, green at the margins, the sky never fully clearing, the thunder never fully stopping. Its children will know no other world. Its grandchildren will never hear anyone describe what dry red rock smelled like before the rain came, because there will be no one left who remembers. The Dicinodon herds will shrink season by season. The Rhynchosauro will follow. The Postosuchus, the apex predator of the dry world, will hunt less effectively each season until one season it simply cannot sustain a body that requires what a 6-meter armored predator requires. The dinosaurs will fill every space they leave, not because dinosaurs are better, not because evolution planned this, because they carry the specific combination of features, upright posture, efficient lungs, fast metabolism, that the wet world rewards. And the wet world is the only world there is now. The rain made room. The dinosaurs filled it. The rain does not distinguish. It falls on everything equally, on the Dicinodon dying and the Eoraptor thriving, on the past and the future, on the bones forming in the mud right now that will be found in Argentina 200 million years from now. What the rain makes of what it falls on is not the rain's choice. That is evolution. That is the only word for what happens when a world changes faster than some things can follow and slower than others need it to. We know about this morning because of the rock, the red beds of the Triassic, those rust-colored formations in the American Southwest, in the Karoo Basin of South Africa, in the Ishigualasto of Argentina, record in their chemistry the exact moment the rain arrived. Below a certain layer, arid sandstone, wind-deposited, 40 million years of dry. Above it, chaotic gravel and silt and mud, the geological signature of rain the land could not absorb, of rivers appearing where there were no rivers, of a world rearranged by water. That boundary layer is the rain arriving. The Eoraptor that hatched in the rain became the Herrerasaurus. The Herrerasaurus became the early theropods. The early theropods became the T-Rex, the Velociraptor, the Spinosaurus. Every predatory dinosaur that ever existed traces its lineage to the small wet animal eating earthworms in Carnian mud while the rain fell on its back and did not stop. The Plateausauro eating ferns in the rain became the Brachiosaurus, the Alamosaurus, every sauropod that ever lifted its neck 9 meters into the Cretaceous sky. All of it began in the rain, not in spite of it. Because of it, the same rain still falls. In Argentina, in South Africa, in the American Southwest, when the monsoon season arrives and the first rain of the wet season hits the red rock formations of the Triassic, that smell rises. Petrichor, geosmin, the compound produced by bacteria waiting dormant in that soil since before the dinosaurs existed, released by the first water to reach them after months of dry. It is the same smell that stopped every animal on the Pangean plain on the morning the rain began. The same bacteria, the same compound, the same signal. Every time rain falls on desert, you are smelling the Triassic. You are smelling the morning the dinosaurs inherited the earth. You have always been smelling it. You just did not know what it was.